Welcome to the first ever Anime Film Awards show. I'm your host Scout, and today we're going over the best movies of 2022. The best way I can describe 2022 is that this was the year for musicals, as there were about 4 anime musicals released this year, which is crazy when you think about it, since I don't think there's ever been that many musicals released ever in a whole decade. So I think that itself is very interesting. Now, before we move on to the award show, I kind of want to make sure you guys know the criteria needed to be entered into the competition. The first would be is that movies have to be standalone. There's exceptions, I'm going to include some exceptions in some mainstream movies. For the majority part, they will be biased more towards movies that are standalone. The second is that they have to have come out in the West in 2022. So any films that came out in Japan in 2022 will not be qualified for this, because here in the West, we haven't seen it. So any movies released here in 2022 are valid and available to be entered for this competition. So let's start off with the categories that are going to be introduced into this competition.
Categories in this year's award show will include the following: Best Musical, Best Character, Best Emotional Scene, Best Indie Film, Best Animated Film, and last but not least, the Best Anime Film of 2022. Also, the following are the movies considered for the 2022 Anime Film Awards.
Alright guys, let's start off with the interesting category, Best Musical of 2022. Here's some of the nominations.
Oh, One Piece Red, Belle, and Sing a Bit of Harmony.
Alright guys, this is a very interesting category, and it was very difficult to choose which one was going to be the winner this year. But first, I want to introduce the runner-up, and this was a very difficult decision, but I think runner-up has to go with One Piece Red, as Yuta did a very great job and a very phenomenal job. And honestly, I didn't want to include a mainstream movie, but I just think her performance this year was just too amazing to skip out. So runner-up definitely goes to One Piece Red. Now the results are in. The best musical of 2022, and I think you guys already know who it's gonna be, has to go to Belle.
Belle songs are just something I think is iconic in terms of anime movies. Though there are classics such as Sparkle or One More Time, One More Chance, I don't think any anime movie thus far has had 3 masterpieces of music that were at such a high quality level. These songs would include A Million Miles Away, Lend Me Your Voice, and You. In addition, the scenes were made so well with the music. Each scene felt so immersive, as each emotion felt so well expressed artistically throughout each musical scene. And for that reason, Belle is this year's musical of the year.
Characters are something that make or break your movie, and these are some of the characters that just left a huge impression on me. The nominations for Best Character are
Suzu, Shion, Nikako, and Yuta.
Now, something I'm sure you guys have noticed is that there are no male characters, and that's for some good reason. I didn't really find any good characters that were male that were really good and stood out to me this year. That's quite unfortunate, but out of all these ladies, let's find out who is the best character of 2022. For runner-up, we have Shion from Sing a Bit of Harmony.
Though Shion might appear as a surface level character, there is an irresistible charm about her that really carried Sing a Bit of Harmony. Anytime she was on screen, there was going to be an interesting scene. For example, who could forget her singing while doing judo or singing in the middle of class? You could tell that the studio had a lot of fun making this movie thanks to Shion. Her character was one that stood out amongst the sea of characters this year.
Now, winner of 2022's Best Character has to go to Lady Nikako.
Throughout this film, she might appear a bit repulsive at first, but she grows on you, especially once you find out how much sacrifice this woman took on just for her daughter. And for that reason, her charisma and strong resolve has won many hearts in 2022 and takes the Best Character of the year.
Next category is Best Emotional Scene. Now, I usually have a description for every category, but there's a lot of nominations for this particular award, so let's just get into that instead.
Nominations for Best Emotional Scene are Goodbye Don't Glees, Finding the Booth, Belle, A Million Miles Away, Summer Ghost, Ghost of Ryu, Fortune favors Lady Nikako, You're My Mom.
Now, this was a very, even I think this was a little bit harder to choose in the first category of best musical. This emotional scene part, I think there was a lot of good emotional scenes this year. I had a hard time picking this, but I think I'm really happy with the choices that I came up with. Let's start off with runner up. Winner of runner up has to go with
Belle. I'm sure there's been times when you've seen or heard a piece of art that just makes you appreciate what even art is. Though the movie as a whole didn't build up a lot of emotion, this in particular was a cinematic masterpiece. There's no way I could really express or describe this intimate experience, as this is a very artistic moment that must be experienced for oneself to understand. So please, if you guys haven't seen Belle, I highly recommend you do for this scene alone.
But the winner of the best emotional scene of 2022 has to go to You're My Mom by Fortune Favors Lady Nikako.
Throughout this movie, we don't get to see Nikako's inner deeper thoughts. Instead, we're oversaturated by her strong optimism and joking nature. Though she casually admits her own downsides, we truly don't get to see how she feels or thinks until this particular scene. In this part of the movie, we are seeing a mother willing to let go of her daughter in exchange for her daughter to get a better life. That moving scene was one that had my entire theater sobbing, and because of that reason, I proudly declare You're My Mom as the best emotional scene of 2022.
Now it's time to give some love to smaller productions. Oftentimes, big movies get a lot of attention. They get a lot of attention from advertisements. They're able to produce bigger productions. And right now, I kind of want to give some love to the smaller productions and find out which is the best indie film of 2022.
Nominations for Best Indie Film are Sing a Bit of Harmony, Summer Ghost, and Drifting Home.
Out of this category, I had two favorites that I wanted to give the best indie film, but obviously you can only pick one. I will have to say that I think many people will agree with me that I think this is the best indie film of the year. Best indie film of the year has to go to
Summer Ghost is a movie that went completely under the radar. Not having a theatrical experience for this film is criminal, as this is the first movie to depict harsh realities of bullying, depression, and death with such raw realism. This movie skips any movie bluff or cliches and gets straight to the point with no exaggeration to these themes. Though the movie's supernatural plot is a huge contrast to those elements, it somehow doesn't feel out of place. I think what really sold this film for me was the movie's resolution. There isn't this huge epiphany that magically fixed everything and fixes everyone's problems, and instead we get a quiet resolution that feels a bit underwhelming but is realistic. This bittersweet film is under 45 minutes, but for a short film, it pulled off more deeper themes than most popular anime films that have a 2-hour runtime. Anime movies are known for their top-tier animation, so which movie had the best animation this year? Let's see your candidates. First up is Inu-Oh, Belle, Bubble, and Deer King. Winner of runner-up has to go to Bubble. This film is easily one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen. MAPPA did not hold back on any of the scenes in this movie. Their experience of bringing animation to life was clearly reflected in the action shots of this movie. I never knew Bubbles could look this beautiful. The colorful explosions of saturation that happens throughout the movie is a mind-blowing spectacle that I wish I experienced in IMAX. But despite that, watching it at home was still an amazing experience that was truly a delight.
And the winner of Best Animated Film of this year has to go to Belle.
Though at first glance, Belle might not seem like a rival to Bubble. However, this movie shines in its ingenuity. You see, Hosoda's films have this beautiful nostalgia look to them. Though they look modern, they have this sense of familiarity, though it's not the only thing that this movie has going for itself. In fact, this movie's beautiful transitions between the virtual world and anime world was something that was done so smoothly, they forget that this movie even has CGI at times. This movie pushed animation in a new direction that hasn't been cinematically well done in anime films, and for that, I think the clear winner for Best Animation has to go to Belle. Now for everyone's favorite part, what was the best movie of 2022? Nominees for this year are Summer Ghost,
We decided to meet today for one goal, to see if we can make contact with the Summer Ghost.
They say she appears when there's fireworks.
Drifting Home,
やっぱりどう見てもここ海だよね。
多分これ夢なんだよ。
Bubble,
Hibiki here was about to meet his maker, but he made it thanks to this one.
Belle,
Gales of song guide me through the storm.
and Fortune Favors Lady Nikiko.
これこそはと信じれるものが。
Best movie of 2022 has to go to Belle. Now, I'm gonna admit I did have some strong criticisms of this movie, but I only did it because this movie was such a beautiful movie that blew my expectations away in terms of music and animation. I did feel like this movie could have been an anime movie classic that stood alongside the likes of Your Name or My Neighbor Totoro. That being said, this movie is still a solid movie. It truly did feel like a theatrical release that was special, as you could feel like it was done with much care. Everything from the voice actors, animation, music, and sound design were done with such in-depth planning, which you could feel as the movie comes to life in such a way that makes you appreciate artistically how well the movie was done. With so many breathtaking moments that left you in awe, it's easy to see how this movie got a record-breaking 14-minute standing ovation. Belle is a movie that stood in the hearts of many this year and collectively brought numerous audience members to theaters this year, and that's why Belle is the best movie of 2022. I want to thank you all for attending this year's awards. Let me know down in the comments what movies you think should have won each category in your own opinion. Lastly, before I go, I want to give a huge shout out to like the couple hundred of you guys who watch my anime film reviews consistently. You know who you are. I just want to thank you guys because I feel bad because I haven't uploaded that many anime film reviews, and I know that's why you guys have subscribed. So next year I promise that I'm going to try to review almost every single anime film that comes out that is a standalone. And yeah, that's it for anime film reviews for this year. Hopefully we get one early next year, but until then, I'll see you guys next time.